Yesterday, President Biden held a short press conference, and the entire purpose of which was to try to squelch the special counsel, Robert Hur's, his report investigating the mishandling of President Biden with some classified documents. But in all reality, I think the attempt to squash all that just totally backfired. And it specifically backfired in the arena of people beginning to ask about his mental capacity. Is he up for another term? And these types of questions. And of course, he stumbled over and over with a multitude of answers. But as he was wrapping up his remarks, he answered a question that was shouted out to him from a reporter about Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's handling of Israel's war in Hamas, and he gave a troubling answer.
I'm of the view, as you know, that the conduct of the response in the Gaza Strip has been over the top.
Wow. I hope you heard that. The president said Israel's handling of this whole war, going after Hamas, who attacked them brutally, that Israel's response has been over the top. That's a pretty chilling statement in and of itself. And joining me now to discuss this is Lela Gilbert. She is a FRC senior fellow for international religious freedom. Lela, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to see you.
Thank you very much. It's nice to see you as well, Jody.
Well, listen, you lived in Israel for quite a time, and you have a unique perspective, a unique understanding of Israel and what they're facing. And so let me just start with this. How do you react just personally, from your experience of being there? What kind of reaction do you have from President Biden's comments here about Israel going over the top in their response to Hamas?
I don't think anybody could ever go over the top in their response to Hamas after what they did in the first place on October 7th. But I think you have to look back at the initial response by the president when it first happened was quite genuine, and it appeared to be from the heart. And he was grieved, and actually his first in conversations with Netanyahu and the others were very, very much in keeping with, I think, all of us who were just living in a state of horror of what happened, not only on the 7th, which was a horror story of the worst kind. And I could never watch those videos in my life to see what really happened, but I know what happened. And also to see our friends. I mean, I've got many friends now. I lived in Israel more than 10 years, and their sons were almost immediately deployed. They don't know where they are. They didn't know where they were at first, for sure. They didn't know if they were going to march into a bloodbath themselves. And all of the uproar, everyone had to leave. The men had to leave their jobs. They had to be deployed immediately. The whole thing was a nightmare. That was over the top, not because they shouldn't have done it, but because it was almost unbelievable to people like me that had been there all those years and many little wars and uproars. But there's been nothing like this since the revolution, since Israel became a country. So all that to say, I think Biden responded well at the beginning, but I think what happened to him was that he started getting a lot of input from people like people that were involved with the Obama administration that are very closely aligned with him. And I think he's kind of changed his tune since.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation, Lela. I can't say that I disagree with that assessment at all. If there is any part of this, though, that is over the top, it is Hamas. I mean, what they did is absolutely unthinkable and evil in every way. And for us to say Israel, in essence, does not have the right to defend themselves is and when they do defend themselves, that they're going over the top is unbelievable to me to think about. So the president, I want to hit on this with you as well, Lela. The president's dropped the ball in many regards, foreign policy, what's happening now with Israel. But Israel's not the only place. The Middle East is not the only place. Can you share with us what's been going on in Nigeria, for example?
Yes, well, we've been following Nigeria actually for a decade. And it's like, we have a common denominator here, and that common denominator is radical Islam. And nobody really talks about that because, we don't want to insult good Muslims or anything else. But the fact is, both Hamas and Hezbollah in the north of Israel and Nigeria and the whole swath across Africa that's taking place against Christians, it's all coming from the same source. It's coming from radical Islamists with different names on their militias and so forth. And Nigeria was not mentioned at all in the State Department's report on religion. It's been ignored, and we've been pushing and pushing and pushing on this. And former Congressman Frank Wolf has been a great hero because he keeps bringing it up and he knows how to address these things. But honestly, there were more Christians killed in Nigeria the last 2 years than in all the rest of the world put together. And it never shows up. It's not talked about. And these are slaughterhouse cases. They're all October 7th, not quite to the degree of sexual violence, but murders, and the survivors are left with nothing. Their houses are burned to the ground. So it's all part of the same game.